Today, we are going to tackle a car problem that is super common and it can leave you stranded with just a massive repair bill. But what if I told you the fix wasn't some brand new, expensive computer, but a really clever old school workaround? Let's break down exactly how it works. So picture this. You turn the key, the car starts, but that dreaded battery light is on and you can just watch your voltage dropping. You take it to the mechanic and they tell you that you need a new main computer and the cost is just astronomical. It's a super frustrating spot to be in, but today we're going to explore a solution that says, nope, that is not the only answer. Okay, so to really get the fix, we first have to understand the problem. You see, in a lot of modern cars, the issue isn't as simple as just a bad alternator. No, the real culprit is hiding deep inside the car's most complex component, its brain. Now, on the surface, the diagnosis seems pretty straightforward. Something between the alternator and the battery has gone bad. That little part is the voltage regulator. Its whole job is to control the alternator's output to keep your battery topped off. Sounds like an easy fix, right? Well, not so fast. And here is the expensive, frustrating twist. In so many vehicles, especially certain Dodge, Chrysler, and Jeep models, that tiny little regulator, a part that should be super cheap to replace, isn't a separate part at all. It's actually permanently soldered inside the vehicle's main computer. So this brain is officially called the Powertrain Control Module, or PCM for short. And as you can see here, it's pretty much a non-serviceable black box that runs everything. So when that tiny internal voltage regulator fails, the official and very, very expensive solution is to replace the whole shebang. But what if we could just go around the problem? This is where a little bit of vintage ingenuity comes into play. Instead of replacing the entire brain, we're just going to bypass the one broken part completely. And this slide right here shows the beautiful simplicity of this whole idea. On the left, you've got that modern PCM, that expensive, non-serviceable box. And on the right, that's our fix. A simple, tough external regulator, literally using technology from the 1970s. We're going to use old tech to solve a very modern problem. So why is this hack so darn effective? Well, it's pretty brilliant, really. We're just routing around the broken component. We're doing it with a famously reliable and inexpensive Mopar part, which turns a potential $1,000 plus repair into a totally manageable DIY project. It puts you back in control. All right, let's get into the how-to part of this. The entire installation really just boils down to 3 core tasks. It is way more straightforward than you might think. Before we even think about touching a single wire, this is the most important step. Seriously, always disconnect that negative battery terminal. This is what prevents electrical shorts, it protects you, and it saves your car's sensitive electronics from getting fried. Safety first, people. The process itself is pretty simple. First, you're going to mount the new regulator to a solid metal surface, like the firewall. Next, you go over to the alternator and find 2 little field wires. Those are the ones the old computer used to talk to it. You're going to snip those to isolate them from the PCM. And finally, you just connect those same 2 wires to the harness on your new external regulator. And check this out. Here is a fantastic tip that makes the wiring even easier. As this quote highlights, when you connect those 2 field wires to the new regulator, the polarity doesn't even matter. You literally can't get it wrong. One wire to one, the other to the other, and you're good to go. Okay, now for a super critical point. This new regulator must have a perfect ground connection. If it has a good ground, the system is healthy. But a bad ground? Well, that means the regulator can't sense the voltage correctly, and it'll just keep telling the alternator to pump out more and more power, which could totally fry your battery and a bunch of other components. So we've handled the alternator side of things. Now we have to tackle the most important electrical connection, getting power to the new regulator. But, and this is key, only when the car is actually running. It's a logical question, right? I mean, the regulator needs 12 volts, the battery has 12 volts. Why not just connect it right there? Well, if you did that, you'd be trading one problem for a whole new one, a battery that is dead every single morning. And that problem is called battery drain. If the regulator is wired straight to the battery, it's going to constantly pull a little bit of power, even when the car is shut off. You'd fix your charging problem only to find yourself with a dead battery all the time. No fun. So the solution is to find what's called switched power. You'll want to start at the fuse box. Your goal is to find a fuse that's only getting power when the key is on, like for the AC or the heater.
Then you can use this super handy little gadget called an ATA circuit to safely tap into that power, and you just make sure to protect your new connection with its own 10 or 15 amp fuse.
With everything wired up, it's the moment of truth. Time to reconnect that battery and see our handiwork in action. We'll check the results, and then we'll talk about the one single trade-off that comes with this fix.
Once you start the car, you want to grab a multimeter and check the voltage. Ideally, you want to see a reading somewhere between 13.5 and 14.5 volts. That right there is the sweet spot for a healthy, happy charging system. But don't panic if you fire it up and initially see something way higher, like this 15.7 volt reading. I know that looks like a dangerous, overcharged situation, but believe it or not, there's a good reason for it.
Think about it. If your battery was severely drained because it wasn't charging, the alternator is going to go into overdrive at first to bring it back to life. That's why you see that temporarily high voltage. As the battery gets its juice back, that number should settle right down into that ideal 14-volt range. So, let's sum it all up. The pros here are absolutely huge. You've saved a ton of money, you've used a really reliable part, and you avoided replacing the entire car computer. The one and only con? Your check engine light will now be on permanently. And why is that? Well, it's because the PCM is smart enough to know it's been cut out of the loop. It'll throw a code saying, hey, I can't talk to the voltage regulator anymore. But the thing is, it can't stop our new external system from doing its job perfectly. The car will charge just fine. It'll just have a little light on the dash telling you about the clever change you made. You know, this whole process leaves us with a pretty fascinating question. In this age of increasingly complex, integrated, and unbelievably expensive car technology, is there still a place for simple, robust, and kind of elegant workarounds like this one? Sometimes it seems looking to the past gives us the best solution for the future.